The situation between anti-government activists and the Syrian army has escalated in Homs over recent days. Journalists who've managed to get into the city have been reporting on the violence in the Baba Amma district.
I'm at ground zero and I'm seeing what is being hit. Civilian buildings are being hit.
Dozens of civilians are reported to have died. And now Sunday Times reporter Marie Colvin and French photographer Remy Oshlik have been killed. The two veteran war correspondents were inside one of the houses that was shelled. This was one of Marie Colvin's last interviews from inside Homs.
And there's been absolutely ferocious shelling this morning, starting at about 6:30 in the morning. There's been, it's very hard to tell exactly what, but it's certainly tank shells and mortar rounds, very heavy shells. Several buildings have collapsed. There's at least 12 dead. The only place that people are being treated, the field clinic, the building next to it, a shell fell right on top of that, lit on fire. The oil tank's up there, so that is burning badly. I'm on a street, half the houses on this street have been hit, including the one I'm in that lost the top floor last week.
The scale of the danger she was in never left the forefront of her mind.
There are only civilian houses here. Secondly, the civilians can't leave. You may say, well, if it's so bad, why are they staying there? The Syrians are not allowing civilians to leave. Anyone who gets on the street, if they're not hit by a shell, they're sniped. There's snipers all around Bab al-Amr on the high buildings. I think the sickening thing is the complete merciless nature of this bombing. Whether or not, what is the target, they are hitting civilian buildings absolutely mercilessly and without caring. I think that's really the main point, and the scale of it is just shocking.
95 tornadoes ripped through yesterday. If those are all confirmed reports, this would be the greatest tornado day, one-day event in March for all history that we have in weather. Numbers, though, don't matter at this point. When you start talking to people, the sun coming up and the scene revealed, it is simply unbelievable.
In southern Indiana, it was a wave of vicious tornadoes.
I looked up and I just seen debris everywhere. And next thing I knew, I was like, I thought it was a dream.
Within minutes, they were gone. But this is what they left behind. Neighborhood after neighborhood flattened. Here in Henryville, Indiana, the small town almost wiped off the map. The roof was completely lifted off a local high school. Miraculously, the 400 students were spared. The powerful winds lifted this school bus and moved it straight into a local restaurant. Next door, the small town of Marysville was completely wiped away. All that's left, foundations of homes that once were.
We've seen the storm clouds coming in from up here. You could see them swirling and then debris and everything. And that's when we went in the house, and then all I could feel was the wind sucking at us.
Across the region, shell-shocked residents couldn't believe the extent of the damage.
We were told we had 11 minutes by the news channel, and within 2 seconds it came through and moved my house completely off the foundation.
There were nearly 100 twisters forming across America's midsection. We were there as the one that hit Henryville formed, eventually becoming the biggest storm in the state.
Time is 2:08. You've got to see this. Circulation, it is happening. The atmosphere is angry right now. You can see it.
Deadly twisters and lightning struck in other states, including Ohio, where this woman lost her sister trying to get to a shelter.
She got crushed with her son, and her son was right with her, but he tried to dig him out and he couldn't do it.
So many shattered homes, devastated communities, lost lives.
Let me take you through the scene behind me. We're looking at the school, Henryville High School, where much of the damage here happened. The bus with cars crashed into it, cars upside down in front of what was the high school. And finally, if you follow me over here, you have the roof ripped off the gymnasium. Seeing this in person, I cannot tell you how wild it is to imagine that no one else was killed here in the school, so we are very fortunate for that. After something like this happens, you wake up and you wonder, is it over? And for some, it's not. Already, many wind reports near Columbia, South Carolina this morning. I want to show you a map of who is still included in the threat area. This is for the next couple of hours, really the morning and early afternoon. So you include the Carolinas, the Panhandle of Florida, Southeast Georgia. You could still see isolated tornadoes, but more importantly, hail and still damaging winds. We, of course, will have much more coverage throughout this program on what has happened here in Indiana
and the pictures and what we're seeing here in Piner, Kentucky, to put it quite frankly, devastating. 3 people in Piner alone were killed last night. Now, I spoke with an official. He tells me that as of right now, everyone's accounted for. No one is missing, but of course, as the sun is rising this morning, he says that could all change. Now, that same official tells me in his 25 years of work, he has seen nothing like this. This is the worst damage he's ever seen, and he compared it to a war zone. The tornadoes came barely through this part of Kentucky, leaving a wake of destruction in their path, tearing roofs off homes, breaking windows, even blowing the side of this house completely off. Those who survived are considering themselves lucky.
It was inside the house, and we just figured we'd go down in the basement. We seen it on TV. And when we got to the basement, stepped out on the patio, within seconds. We just barely made it into the system.
It is Western Kentucky's deadliest outbreak of tornadoes in the last 40 years, and the damage is everywhere. Trees and power lines toppled. Emergency crews searched through the night for survivors. The twisters were quick, but the devastation they left behind will be felt for a long time. The only thing left of this house, its front door.
Describe what you've seen or what you've heard over the past couple of days.
Unreal. I mean, it's a tragedy, that's for sure.
Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear will be visiting Piner this morning to assess the damage himself.
On this same street that were ruined by 2 separate tornadoes in less than a year. This one belonged to Jim and Judy Hodges. A tornado, of course, destroyed this home in April of last year when those storms came through Alabama. And then yesterday, another storm took it away. The family is devastated. They hid in a shelter. They were married here. He was born in this home. And now, like so many other families, they have to rebuild again.
Had it not been for our neighbors across the street, we would have still been in the house.
There are so many stories of survival and so many families who have lost. In Tennessee, Sheila Skaggs is planning a funeral for her mother who was killed in the storm.
My parents have known each other since they were 12 years old. And my mother passed away here, over there. This is something they built and worked all their life to have. They've always been together. And it's all gone. And nothing here matters. My dad's devastated.
It was such a heartbreaking loss to hear. The National Weather Service says that there were now at least 6 tornadoes that tore through Alabama and damaged or destroyed Viana. As many
Certainly,
as
the situation here is growing. Today it was a bit more of a spectacle, but the authorities aren't taking any chances at all with this one. An evacuation order was given this morning for the Nepean Hawkesbury, and to put it into perspective, across the state, 3,500 people have been told to leave their homes. 2,000 of them are right here in this region, and it's all to do with this river system you see behind me. Currently, it's sitting at about 6 metres according to the SES. Tomorrow, they're forecasting another 100 millimetres of rain over the next 48 hours, and it should be up to about 11 metres, I should say. That's the current forecast. Now, besides the rain obviously being the main problem, another concern is Sydney's Warragamba Dam. It is the city's largest catchment, and last night, for the first time in a decade, it hit 100% capacity. The historical town of Windsor is now part of the biggest flooding event in the state's history, and it's drawn crowds.
This is the first time we've seen water flow down the Hawkesbury and Nepean system for well over a decade.
By midday, 4 key bridges were closed, but not under. The Windsor Bridge is being closed at 5.5 metres. That's still about 1.5 metres below its top. The reason they're doing that is this growing concern that logs that are building up underneath the bridge will destabilise its structure. And it was quickly collecting under the old bridge, although the potential danger failed to discourage some.
It's exciting, but it's also concerning at the same time. You don't know where it's going to come from.
This is the main source, the first trickle over the spillway of Sydney's main water supply. The first time it's breached in 14 years.
but as the hours passed, it became a torrent. Tens of thousands of megalitres overflowing. It'll continue for several days.
And up until 2007, we're at our lowest level, and then we've watched the dam rise since then.
Residents downstream have also kept a close eye on the levels.
I don't think it'll affect us much.
The river level is well short of the local record, but today's still a spectacle.
It's a lot of water. Mother Nature at its best, I suppose, is teaching people who's the boss.
And Lockie, other parts of the state are also being affected.
Yes, certainly, Matt. I mean, 2 weeks ago I was up in the state's northwest reporting on flood zones there. Today it's Sydney's northwest's turn. They're saying 75% of the state is now flood affected, and besides threatening homes, it is, as we say, closing a lot of bridges, a lot of roads. That can be a logistical nightmare. Authorities are saying if you don't have to travel, please don't. But if you need to get somewhere, jump onto the Live Traffic website. That's livetraffic.com, and hopefully they can tell you what is open and what's closed because of this unprecedented event.
As it's towed away from the scene, the mangled front of this almost unrecognisable coach tells its own tragic story. 28 Belgian tourists, including 22 children, were killed when their bus crashed into the wall of a tunnel in the Valais region of Switzerland. The passengers had been heading back to Hervelay and Lommel in Belgium after a skiing holiday on the Switzerland-Italy border. 52 people in total were on board when the crash happened, and 24 children were taken into hospital for injuries. Some are reported to be seriously hurt. 2 drivers in the bus were also killed, and an investigation is still underway to assess the cause of the accident.
Bolton's Fabrice Muamba remains critically ill and in intensive care after collapsing during an FA Cup quarter-final against Tottenham. Fans reacted with shock after seeing medics race onto the pitch to treat the 23-year-old.
I think people are so fit, these guys, and that can happen. Well, it shows you can happen to anybody, really, isn't it? Not just fat girls like me. But no, it's terrible.
It's gutted. I just hope he pulls through. It's all about one, but it's not about what numbers anymore. It's about him as a person.
The midfielder was rushed to the heart attack centre at the London Chest Hospital after receiving around 6 minutes of treatment on the pitch. Following the incident, the match was abandoned.